What I like best about the Terry and Jesse show is that it revives my hope in men to be godly men.
It's a really good show because it's relatable to family life, daily life. It's encouraging. It's like cheerleading also for Catholics. But number one, the reason I like it because you guys aren't afraid to speak the truth.
You are both the most compassionate hosts I've ever heard. And as a Jewish convert, I am a much better informed Catholic. Thank you, Terry and Jesse.
I just think it's the best thing that we have here in LA. It's awesome. I'm hooked.
This is the Terry and Jesse Show. We invite you to this holy hour of power. We're two Catholics with a PhD in common sense. We engage the enemy with prayer, fasting, and full contact Catholicism. We're part of the MMA, Mother's Mary's Army. Our program is not right versus left. It is right versus wrong. And this is Catholicism for the blue-collar man. Yup, that's you. This is where Catholicism and culture intersect. Today we want to talk about several topics which have to relate to marriage and family life. I don't know if you heard that the San Antonio police chief committed suicide days after his email was leaked that he was using the Ashley Madison website, the website that sets up adulterous affairs. I just want to pray for him. Eternal rest grant unto the police chief, O Lord, and let your perpetual light shine upon him. May the soul of the San Antonio police chief, to the mercy of God, rest in peace. Amen. There's also an interview with the owner of the Ashley Madison website. His name's Noel Bitterman. He's the owner of this adulterous, cheating website where he sets up affairs between married people. And he was asked in this one question, he was asked, so what would you do? How would you feel if you found out that your wife was using the Ashley Madison website? And Noel Bitterman, the owner, he said this, it's funny that you bring that up. When I've been asked that question, I reply, I would be devastated. Did you hear what he just said?
Yep.
I would be devastated. And he also said, after he continued by saying, by the way, I'm comfortable raising my own family with this business as a backdrop. Can you imagine coming home every day knowing how you're making your money to support your family? Here's the third thing we could talk about. There's another good article from a Catholic perspective. It's called Ashley Madison and the Sin Trap. It basically says that you think sin is private? Nope. Your sin affects the body of Christ at large. Here's another article. Who are your role models? Married celebrities or married saints? I'll tell you who I look to as a role model for me, my mom and dad, who were married for 57 years until the Lord took my dad home. I don't look to anybody in Hollywood as my role model because in Hollywood what you see is selfish love, and what I saw with my parents is selfless love. Here's another thing we could talk about, and this is a huge topic that really covers everything. Contraception gave us divorce and gay marriage, and this will ultimately destroy us if we don't go back to Catholic tradition. Yep, and the last one is this. Raquel Welch was interviewed a few years ago, and she said, actually in 2010 she was interviewed, and she says the pill has made us amoral. In other words, it's made society more immoral. And here's the challenge that I have. Think about like Bill Cosby, okay? He had us all fooled. We all thought that he was, very one of those role models in Hollywood. But Bill Cosby has drugged and sexually assaulted over 50 women since the 1970s. And what about David Letterman? He just retired from late night after 33 years. He was a terrible boss. David Letterman admitted that he had multiple affairs with females who worked for his company. And what about Kim Kardashian, who rose to fame after she made a sex tape with her then boyfriend Ray J in 2003? It was leaked in 2007. She threatened with legal action. They paid her off $5 million settlement. And guess what? Her sex tape has made her a household name when entertainment television made her and her family the focus of a reality show called Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Here's my question. Do you think all of this would have occurred before the invention of contraception? Of course not. Of course not.
Absolutely. And, Jesse, one more thing, everybody. This Ashley Madison sells their website where it says, life is short, have an affair. You know what our website says? Life is short, eternity is forever. See, we just have a different focus. And that focus is serving God, the other is serving man. And I got to tell you, it's sad to know that there's thousands and millions of people going to this website. That's why we're talking about this, because we want to help people know to do the right thing. Also, I just want to give everybody an update. Last weekend, we talked about the Planned Parenthood clinics and how everybody was protesting. Well, it wasn't just 200. It was 262 of them were reporting a tally of 64,980 people in attendance. The final tally could probably top 70,000 committed people protesting Planned Parenthood. I think that's marvelous, and keep the pressure on Planned Parenthood. If you have a question or a comment, and the question I have, and I'm going to let Jesse explain to everybody his own life and how contraception played a role in his own life with his wife. But if you want to get a copy of a CD that I've distributed millions, not millions, hundreds of thousands of, called Contraception, Why or Why Not by Janet Smith, it's a famous CD. It helps people understand the issues of what the church teaches on the issue of contraception. I'm going to give 2 copies away if you call 877-526-2151. That's 877-526-2151. I want to get into this. Contraception gave us divorce and homosexual marriage, and it will destroy any marriage using contraception. But I want to throw it back to Jesse, because he has a very, very personal story in his own life I'd like him to share with our listeners.
I grew up I was born in 1961, so I grew up in the I'm okay, you're okay generation. I was a teenager in the 70s, the height of the sexual revolution, and I got married in the 80s when we were still reeling. In fact, that's when the sexual scandals in the Catholic Church were being played out in the seminaries. And the fact is, I was poorly formed as a Catholic. If you really want to see what happened to me, I wrote a book called Catholics Wake Up. Chapter 1 and 2, I basically say exactly what I went through. If you want to order that book, you can order it. Go to my website, jesseromero.com, jesseromero.com. It's called Catholics Wake Up. Chapter 1 and 2, I tell you exactly what happened. But here's the long and the short of it. I had a bad priest that married me. Yep, he was a bad priest. I'll just say that. I won't go into any deeper into that. And I remember in the marriage preparation classes, in one of the classes, he had told my wife, my now wife Anita, and myself, he says, oh, by the way, so he asked it as a question. He goes, oh, by the way, what contraception are you going to use? Because I generally refer the pill to all my married couples. So he asked me this basically as a lead-on question. Now, who am I at this point? I'm a low-information Catholic, catechized in the 60s and 70s under Kumbaya Catholicism. I'm living in the height of the sexual revolution. Guess what? He just fed right into my concupiscence. Okay? At this point, I'm thinking, a priest, he speaks for God. He's ordained by God, and he speaks the whole truth, nothing but the truth. So help him God. So I figured, okay, this guy's giving me the straight dope. And so I went on to contracept for several years. Living a life of total selfishness. For me, intimacy was just something that was selfish. I just wanted to derive pleasure. I didn't want to have any children. Are you kidding me? I had bought into the whole Hollywood, type of arrangements that it was just supposed to be something that was, recreational pleasure. That's it. No sacrifice. No total self-donation. No life-giving love, none of that stuff. That stuff didn't even play to my mind because I was never taught that. Well, the long and the short of it, I finally, about 4 years after into our marriage, somebody gave us a Scott Hahn conversion tape. It was a cassette tape back then. It wasn't a CD.
Yeah.
And at this point, I was kind of poking around. I was kind of like something was happening in my heart. I wanted more. I felt lost. I felt empty. And so I'm starting to look into Christianity, fundamentalism, evangelicalism, Pentecostalism, even the Catholic faith. I'm poking around. I got a hold of this tape, and lo and behold, me and my wife, we sat and we listened to it, and we heard Scott Hahn talk about the history of contraception. and how that was one of the linchpins that determined for him that the Catholic Church was the true Church of Jesus Christ. And he ended up converting to the Catholic Church, him and his wife, that being one of the major issues that led him to see that the Catholic Church was the bride of Christ and the true church started by Jesus Christ. Well, I listened to that tape, and immediately I began ordering stuff online because he mentioned a thing called Humane Vitae. I didn't know what that was. Pope Paul VI, I ordered it. He mentioned something else, another book written by, the Couple League. Right. I went to the Couple League website. I ordered like 10 of their booklets that they had on marriage and NFP and life care. I didn't know none of this stuff. Me and my wife began reading, and ultimately we changed our sexual practices.
An amazing story. And if you have a story like that, give us a call at 888-526-2151. That's 888-526-2151. When did you come to understand what the church teaches about Humane Vitae, about life-giving love? I know many couples have told me, look, I didn't know that contraception was bad, was against God's will. I mean, I never hear anybody talk about it. Well, right here on the Jesse and Terry Show, you certainly will. And if you want to get an informative CD on that by Janet Smith, I think it's the best CD I have, called Contraception, Why or Why Not. Thousands of them have been distributed. I'll give you 2 copies for free. Share it with a friend. Call 877-526-2151 to get your copy and then give one away. This is like news for a lot of people. Call us, 877-526-2151, or go online, catholicrc.org. When we come back, we'll continue to inspire you after this quick break. Welcome back to the Terry and Jesse Show. If you just missed it, Jesse Romero just told his life story of how he and his wife were a young Catholic married couple who didn't understand the church teachings on contraception until they heard a Scott Hahn cassette tape, and then he started evaluating with his wife the teachings of the church, and they changed their ideas on marriage and family life through just a cassette. I asked if you would call us if you have a question or a comment about this issue of Humane Vitae. Maybe when you were young, you had the same thing happen to you. But these articles that we're talking about, we didn't mention one more. It's Ashley Madison and the Sin Trap. Lessons about sin from the headlines. We're talking about, Ashley Madison's website. Thousands of cheating wives and husbands sign up every day looking for an affair. Well, this is sad. We need to pray for them to stop that, obviously. But there is no such thing as a private sin. Think about God is with you all day, all night. If we keep that in mind, I think it would help. If you want to call us, our toll-free number is 888-526-2151. A quick note, Thursday we have our dinner, fundraising dinner for the radio show, the Terry and Jesse Show. If you still want to come 2 days before, you can call us at 877-526-2151. We're going to have some T-shirts there where it says, I'm too blessed to be stressed on the front of the T-shirt, and on the back, I'm too anointed to be disappointed. If you want to get those shirts, you can show up Thursday or call us at 877-526-2151. We have Mary in Covina. Mary, welcome to the Terry and Jesse Show.
Thank you so much for taking my call. I've been reflecting a lot lately on Pope Paul VI and Humane Vitae. And in Humane Vitae, Pope Paul VI warned that if you liberalize the use of contraceptives in marriage, it will lead to unbridled abortion, unrestricted abortion, what they call abortion on demand, which is present in our country. He said it would also lead to the breakdown of the family and the rise of, therefore, poverty. When the family breaks down, you get this tremendous poverty because of the breakdown of the family. And then you have rampant homosexuality. I would encourage everybody to go back and read Humane Vitae again. At the time that Humane Vitae was written, the public media ridiculed Pope Paul VI. This man in his ivory tower of celibacy has no connection with the real world, and he just has no idea what it's like for married couples to be married and to have a large family, and how much of a horrible burden this is to have such a big family. And now, looking at our society, everything that he predicted has become a reality in our society. And all of this flowed from the liberalization of the use of contraceptives in marriage. It's interesting that in 1965, the United States Supreme Court struck down any state's right to outlaw the sale of contraceptives in their state. Up until 1965, the individual states had a right to decide whether or not they were going to allow contraceptives to be sold in their state. That decision, Griswold versus Connecticut, paved the way for Roe versus Wade, which happened within 8 years. By 1972, then the United States Supreme Court declared that a woman had a right to kill her child, only they didn't call it that. They call it a lot of other things. Genetic engineering of words, a famous moral theologian, Monsignor William Smith, God have mercy on his soul, he used to say, we changed the language in order to anesthetize people against the reality of what's going on so that they will accept a lie. And unfortunately, in our country and in much of the world, we've accepted the lie that children are a burden and that large families are not something you can manage. It's interesting. Today is the feast of Pope St. Louis of France.
Right.
Louis of France was the father of 11 children. I just thought it was ironic that this talk, you should be talking about this today, when this man, the king of France, Louis, king of France, he's a saint, and he had 11 children.
Right.
So just, everybody go back and read Humani Vitae. Let's take another look. Let's realize that, you know what, God speaks prophetically to his people, and he warns us. And if we listen to his warning and turn to him, we will live. But if we do not turn to him, the consequence is eternal death.
Well said, Mary. Well said. Thank you for your call. Appreciate the input. And you're absolutely right. Back in 1965, that's a fact if you look it up, folks. Here's the point. This article that Mary is talking about contraception, it points out all the things she just mentioned, that, immediately the consequences of promiscuity started in adolescence, and it was rampant in the 60s. Once we separated the marital act from just procreative and unitive, and we separate it for sexual, just recreational sex, look what happened to our culture. See, the Catholic Church has it right.
Absolutely. When the practice of sterilized sexual intercourse is accepted, it leads logically to the acceptance of all practices, sodomy, homosexuality, polygamy. In fact, the whole homosexual movement, according to this one article, has become possible only through the general acceptance of contraceptive practice.
Wow.
Because now you reduce sexuality just to recreation and entertainment. There's no more children attached. So this has given birth to the homosexual movement. The practice of contraception within marriage contains within itself the mutual rejection of the spouses. It leads to selfishness. I know, I've been there. It leads to the destruction of love. Because in Christianity, it belongs to the nature of the sacrament to give oneself to another, even to the point of sacrifice. And Jesus Christ is our example of this. The marital act is meant to be an act of mutual love, of mutual self-giving, and the natural fruit of that love is the child. When we separate it, what Terry just says, the unitive from the procreative, or when we separate it, bonding from babies, now the genie's out of the bottle and we have the sexual disaster that we find ourselves in.
And think about what we talk about private sin. I said there's no such thing as private sin. Think of the damage private sins have done. Gary Hart lost his career. Tiger Woods lost his family. And lest we forget it, Catholic hierarchy, right, lost the respect of many because of the not so secret sins of priests. We're also in this. We have original sin, and the effects of original sin, nobody gets away from that, even priests and bishops. So sin, some people say sin is our default position. We have to battle to be good, right? We have to make the greatest error of thinking we are basically good guys, occasionally surprise God by ourselves by sinning. Religious people are especially prone to this error. We think, serious sin is something that other people go to. You know what? If we take too much pride in the fact that at least we've escaped the headlines grabbing the sin of the day, we should realize, listen to this, everybody, that we're only a few short steps, a couple of clicks of a mouse from where we are now, from where Ashley Madison customers are today. Any of us can fall. That's why we need to stay close to Jesus. If you have a question or a comment, especially if you've got an opinion on this issue of contraception and whether you were an adult when you found out that it was not right, not according to God's will to practice, call us at 888-526-2151. If you want to get the contraception CDs by Janet Smith, 2 of them for free, just pay the shipping. Call 877-526-2151.
This Friday, I'm going to be at St. Francis of Rome Catholic Church, August 28th, this Friday night from 7 to 9 p.m. in Azusa, California, talking about the culture wars. This Saturday, August 29th, I'm going to be at the Los Angeles Convention Center at the Take Courage Conference. That's going to be from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And by the way, September 6th or September 9th, I'm going to be speaking at the Legatus here in Phoenix, Arizona. After Holy Mass at 5:30 p.m. That's going to be at the Arizona Country Club. I'll be speaking at the Legatus after Holy Mass, 5:30 p.m. here at Phoenix, Arizona at the Arizona Country Club. And September 12th, Saturday, September 12th, I'm going to be at St. Mary Magdalene Church here in Gilbert, Arizona from 9 to 10 a.m. at the speaker series talking about moral relativism. That's September 12th, St. Mary Magdalene Parish in Gilbert, Arizona from 9 to 10 p.m. And September 18th, I'll be again at St. Mary Magdalene Church in Gilbert, Arizona, speaking on the covenant of love, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. That's September 18th, St. Mary Magdalene Parish.
I'd like to make a comment that I'm sure a lot of people are going to say, you got to be kidding, Terry. I think contraception's bad for the economy. What? I'll tell you why. We're spending $16 billion a year to take care of people with STDs, right? And what do you think that's done to the economy for our medical costs each month for you and me? It's cost a lot of money. Another issue, contraception is bad for the economy. You know why? Because we don't get customers. We don't get babies coming into this world. Can you imagine the amount of demand for shoes, cars, houses we'd have if we didn't contracept? So we have the supernatural level, which is against God's law, but even on the natural level, this is bad news for America. So I would encourage you, I know we got a call coming, I'll take it right after the break, but I would encourage you to call us and tell us your thoughts on the teachings of the church. Maybe, have you heard a homily at your parish on contraception? I'd like to know who heard one recently, because what we're talking about is not politically correct, is it? People are going to say, Terry, talk about anything but this. So when we come back from the break, we'll take your calls. You can call us at 888-526-2151. Think of Raquel Welch. When I was in the 1960s and 70s, she was like the Playboy. I mean, she was the sex symbol of the sexual revolution. And for her to say at age 69 that, hey, you know what? Contraception is bad. Wow, that's like saying, that, Siley, what's her name? Siley saying that she now is a Catholic.
Miley Cyrus
saying, look, I'm converted. I want to teach people about the faith. That's what we're up against right now. We have to share the faith as strong as we can, because if we don't speak, silence is not good right now. We need to promote the Catholic faith in a way that folks will embrace it and that they'll have life, because it's the truth that sets us free. You want to join in on the conversation? Call us at 888-526-2151. If you want to get the CDs, that's a different number, 877-526-2151. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Terry and Jesse Show. We're part of the MMA, Mother Mary's Army. We're part of the UFC, Ultimate Faithful Catholics. Several topics that have to do with the sacrament of marriage we're talking about today. By the way, this week in the podcast, I show the logical errors that are taught within the seamless garment theory. Have you ever heard of the seamless garment theory? It's been promoted for the last several decades. And basically, this theory says that, all sins are basically equal. They're all the same. There's no gradations of evil. Abortion is the same as immigration. And, same-sex marriage, it's the same as, the environment, taking care of the environment. So this week in the podcast, I go through the errors of the seamless garment theory. And basically, this theory has provided cover for pro-abortion Catholic politicians. Let me go back to the program today. I found it interesting that Raquel Welch, who was, again, as Terry says, she was a sex symbol back in the 70s and 60s for Hollywood. And she's basically said that the contraceptive pill has caused the breakdown of sexual morality. The 70s sex symbol in this article believes the use of oral contraception, which became available in the 60s, has encouraged promiscuity, and young people no longer care about the institution of marriage. Raquel Welch, who was once voted by Playboy magazine as the most desirable female of the 70s, told CNN TV, said, quote, "The growing proliferation of birth control methods has had an awesome effect on both sexes and led to a sea change in moral values." And she says, "And a significant and enduring effect on women was the idea they could have sex without any consequences, meaning fewer today see marriage as a viable option." I love this last phrase where she goes, Raquel Welch says this, "Seriously, folks, if an aging sex symbol like myself starts waving the red flag of caution over how low moral standards have plummeted, you know it's got to be pretty bad." I found that line pretty good. She's laughing. She's saying, come on, I bought into all this stuff. And if I'm warning you guys how bad it is, it's got to be pretty bad.
I want to add one more thought. She also said that she'd been married 3 times and admits that the pill did what ruined her marriage. I mean, so bottom line, she's warning us. And I would like to ask you, I know this is a tough topic to talk about because not many people want to talk about this. But guess what? Here at the Terry and Jesse Show, we're not politically correct. We're right versus wrong. And so that's why we ask you, think about this. When did you first find out that the church taught that contraception was intrinsically evil? What? Yes, when did you find that out? Did you find it through, like Jesse did, on a cassette tape? Did a priest tell you about it? Did someone, maybe EWTN? How did that happen in your life? We'd like to hear from you. Call us at 888-526-2151, 888-526-2151. Maybe you have a relative or a friend who maybe is thinking that, you know, I'm buying into the contraceptive mentality. Give them a copy of Janet Smith's CD on contraception. I'm giving 2 away if you just call 877-526-2151. 877-526-2151. I'd also like to bring up another point that Jesse brought up earlier in the show. He talked about your friends. Who are your role models? Let's face it, we live in a world right now where, especially us men, sports is our God, right? That's our role model. Who's the football coach? Who's the quarterback or, you know, the center fielder for what team? But really, our role models should be the saints, because you know what? The saints help us get to heaven, because as I said, life is short and eternity is forever. We're going to go to Emmanuel up in San Jose, California. Emmanuel, come on, buddy. You're here with Jesse and Terry. Welcome, my friend.
Yeah. How you guys doing, Terry?
We're too blessed to be stressed, Emmanuel. How about yourself?
Likewise.
Okay, bro. Go ahead. I'm all ears.
For me, myself, I've always been a devout Catholic. I too was similar to what Jesse went through. My catechism was real lukewarm. It was more like, you know, hanging out with friends more than learning what the church is about.
Yeah.
And also, just the church itself. What it was is my dad was very traditional Catholic. Grew up with the, you know, he was kind of anti-Vatican II. So I went to St. Pius X. I know there's issues with that and Vatican II.
Uh-huh.
But, you know, I learned all this stuff by going through their Baltimore Catechism about what the church teaches. Because at the time, I was going to the Vatican II, and I just didn't feel the truth coming out. They weren't really talking about things that were important regarding church rules and doctrine.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at St. Pius X, and that's where I learned it. I'm not promoting it or anything, but that's when I was going to that church and that mass as a young teenager.
Yes,
that's where the priest taught me and spoke about contraception, about homosexual marriage, everything that's happening now in today's society. I learned all that during the mid '80s, early '90s, and that's my spill on it. I I love the Pope. I do, and I am a Vatican II parishioner now.
Yeah, you came back to the fullness. Yeah, you came back in union with the church. Is that correct, Emmanuel? What brought you back to the teachings? In other words, I know that the traditionalists or the Lefebvrites are outside in the sense of they don't go along with Vatican II. But what brought you back to the church?
Well, you know what?
Tell me.
I was never taught to go along, not to go along with Vatican II. As a St. Pius X parishioner, I supported the Pope. The priest did.
Yeah.
Not once did I hear them say not to support the church.
Uh-huh.
It was just more of the way the church was. I mean, women come dressed modestly.
Yes.
It was just too modern for me. Even
Sure.
now, when I still go, I still see too much modernism and liberalism in the church itself. I now have a priest who has traditional values.
Yes.
And conveys that while he's doing the Eucharistic with the Vatican II style.
Sure.
I like that.
You bet.
But it's how the priest conveys the information. I just believe the priests back then were just too lukewarm. They weren't really fighting for what the church stood for. And I do now see that.
Got it.
And for me, that's what it was. I met
Emmanuel,
a priest that showing me that.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Emmanuel, you're absolutely right. I mean, the 60s and 70s and 80s were a
Tough
bad time in
times.
the church.
Yeah.
A lot of modernism crept in, and I'm glad you came back to the church under the Pope. I'll tell you why, because you can't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Though a lot of modernism crept into the church and a lot of, goofy kumbaya Catholicism came in, we need to remember that we can't have that spirit of Luther and say, okay, I don't like what's happening here in the Church of Jesus Christ, so I'm going to go across the street and I'm going to start my own church. That's that spirit of Luther, that spirit of rebelliousness. Yeah, what we have to do, Emmanuel, is the difference between Luther and, for example, St. Ignatius of Loyola and St. Teresa of Avila, they all saw problems within the church. But you know what Luther did? He started his own church across the street where the other saints, they stood inside the church and fought to reform the church from within. In other words, bring holiness back to the church. And so I'm glad you're back in the church, and I'm glad you have very traditional values, and we need your witness to continue making our church holy and purifying it.
Emmanuel, can I leave you on one last question? I don't know you from Adam, but
Sure.
Are you at Our Lady of Our Lady Shrine there in Santa Clara? Is that the church you go to?
Yeah, I go there.
Just a guess. I say, Emmanuel, I knew that. You know why? Because those priests are terrific there. Our Lady of Peace Parish. If you're up in San Jose, Santa Clara area, folks, Our Lady of Peace has this big statue of Our Lady there. And I used to go there in the 1970s when there wasn't anything around. So, Emmanuel, you're a good man. Keep up the good work and keep fighting for the truth, brother.
All right, you guys. God bless you guys.
God bless you, Emmanuel. You're listening to the Terry and Jesse Show. Jesse, Emmanuel inspired me because so many people tell me right now, I hear this all the time, I'm leaving the church. I don't agree with X, Y, or Z. Really? Come on, wake up. That's not what you're supposed to do.
Absolutely. And for those young people out there, here's what I would recommend to the young people. Find yourself role models, an older couple that you can attach yourself to, that they can mentor you. Make sure your role models are not, Jennifer Garner and Ben Affleck and, Blake Shelton and Miranda Lambert. I mean, these Hollywood divorces make big headlines. And I'll tell you, a lot of young people look to these Hollywood celebrities, these Hollywood married celebrities as their models. Don't look to them as your models because they will let you down time and time again. Here's a very basic ingredient that, for example, Jennifer Garner and Ben Affleck have forgotten. The basic ingredient that most celebrity marriages seem to forget. Number one, you put God first. Okay? And then number two, you love your spouse with the love of God.
Amen.
Well, how can you love your spouse with the love of God? How can Ben Affleck do that and Jennifer Gardner and Blake Shelton and Miranda Lambert and all these people that are divorcing in Hollywood? The way you love your spouse with the love of God is you have to receive the Eucharist. The Holy Eucharist changes your heart and gives you the ability to love your spouse. A lot of these Hollywood couples, here's another ingredient they miss. Their love is selfish. It's me, me, me. I want to feel good. Sex is recreation versus being selfless. A lot of these Hollywood couples, they don't understand the importance of sacrifice for their love to grow and the need to die to themselves in order to live. That's what Jesus says in John 12:24. Unless a grain of wheat falls on the ground and dies, it remains only a single grain, but if it dies, it bears much fruit. These Hollywood couples, they're thinking about their career, making more money, another film. I've got to look good. I've got to lift weights 3 hours a day. Me, me, me. The Hollywood couples are based, their relationships are based on narcissism and selfishness. The Catholic faith is based on self-sacrifice, and it's based on total self-donation to the other person.
When we come back, I'm going to give you some advice that Bishop Sheen gave to all married couples. Don't turn the dial. We're going to come back. If you want to get that CD on contraception, call 877-526-2151. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Terry and Jesse Show. This hour goes by so fast. I want to thank you for joining us each day here at Immaculate Heart Radio. We're talking on a lot of different topics. Unfortunately, the saddest one was about the San Antonio police chief. He committed suicide days after his email was leaked that he was using the Ashley Madison website, which is so sad that so many people are going to a website to get into affairs with other women or other men. That is a sad commentary. Also, we're talking about an interview with the owner of Ashley Madison. Can you imagine the owner saying, yeah, no problem, this is what I do, and goes home with his family? I mean, his moral conscience obviously has been killed. He doesn't understand. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Also, who are your role models? Jesse was just talking about role models. You know, are they the celebrities versus married saints or other saints? I know for me, Fulton Sheen, I always say full Sheen ahead. Why? Because I learned so much from Fulton Sheen. And I made a promise at the break that I would give you some information that will help you in your own marriage. And here's what Bishop Sheen said with 3 to get married. He said, buddy, your love will not last because you're strong. Your love will last because you have the power to renew that marriage bond. So I'm going to encourage all of our listeners who are married, renew your marriage vows often. When you do that, what does that do? It helps you bond yourself to your wife or to your husband. We need witnesses like that today because you know what? The world says marriage, it's like a loan. Every 5 years we can renew it or we can walk away. That's the sad scenario. And again, if you'd like to join us with a question or a comment, call us at 888-526-2151. I made a comment earlier in the show that I believe that contraception is not only bad for your soul, but it's bad for the economy. What? Well, number one, when you have a divorce, you know what the number one cause for poverty in America is? Divorce. That's my thought.
Let me go back to our celebrity marriages for a moment. You definitely don't want to take your example from celebrity marriages because, number one, they don't put God first. You're supposed to put God first even before your spouse. I know this may seem obvious to us that are listening to Catholic radio, but this is a key ingredient to happy marriage. Returning to the celebrities for a moment, Jennifer Garner and Ben Affleck, they were very open with the fact that their marriage took a conscious effort. In fact, Ben Affleck made headlines in 2013 when he accepted an Oscar, and he said, I want to thank you to his wife for working on our marriage for the last 10 Christmases. But the reason Ben Affleck and Garner's marriage is on the rocks because they don't have a moral compass. They don't have a properly formed conscience. Look at Ben Affleck went on to star in a movie called Gone Girl, and he made headlines due to doing a full frontal nudity in addition to a couple of other steamy scenes with co-star Rosamund Pike. And, he did this with full public support of his wife, Jennifer Garner. Filming in the nude while romping with somebody who's not your spouse, this should be pretty obvious that this is going to cause damage to your marriage. But the fact of the matter is, that's why as Catholics, we have to keep God first. And we also have to remember that marriage is an exclusive union. We don't share what we have with anybody else. If Ben Affleck would listen to this Catholic radio program, he would get it. Marriage is 4 F's. Here it is, Ben Affleck, 4 F's. Faithful to your wife. Only your wife, nobody else. You're faithful to her exclusively. Number 2, fruitful, open to life, Ben Affleck. Number three, forever. Forever. What does that mean? It means permanent. It means exclusive. That's what that means. And also free. Freely entered into. No coercion, no duress. We've got Eugene calling from Los Angeles. Go ahead, Eugene. You're on the Terry and Jesse show. Or we got Ann. Yeah. Ann from San Francisco. Ann.
Okay, I'm here.
Go ahead, Ann. We're all ears, my friend. Thank you for calling.
I've got a comment which might be interesting and maybe not on contraception.
Okay. Well, God bless you. Go ahead.
Okay. I graduated from high school a long time ago, back in 1949.
Wow.
Met my husband and got engaged the next year.
Yeah.
And we knew all about contraception then. Now, I don't know. I went to Catholic high school. I really don't remember. It's just that we knew about it.
Yes.
And didn't practice contraception.
Okay, I think we just lost Ann. We've got all of our lines lit up. And so, Eugene, you're going to come up in a minute here. We've got one more. Ann, if we lost you, please call us back. We only have a couple minutes left on the show. And we're having some technical difficulty. All of our lines are lit up right at the end. That's how it works. Jesse, her thoughts are that in 1949, I think a lot of people, that's my mom and dad's era, they knew the teachings. Okay, do we have Ann back? Ann?
Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead, Ann. Continue with your story.
Okay, no, I just wanted to comment on way back in 1949 that we definitely knew about contraception. And I can remember people talking about the different methods of contraception, which we did not use.
Right.
And anyway, it takes us quite a while back.
Sure, imagine.
So, anyway, probably in Catholic girls' school, I don't know. Maybe that's where I learned it.
Well,
but
back
anyway,
then, sure. Well, thank you for sharing
no,
that,
we
Ann.
did know it back
And
then.
yeah, go ahead. The reason you knew it back then because it was illegal. And like our first caller, Mary, said from Covina, it became legalized in 1965 by the U.S. Supreme Court in Griswold versus Connecticut. And the money behind that lawsuit was Hugh Hefner from Playboy. And so it was illegal up until 1965 in the United States. And it was even illegal and unlawful up until 1930 in all Protestant denominations until the Anglicans caved in the Lambeth Conference. So, yeah, you grew up in the era where this was not an issue, and that's why marriages were stronger. They were built more on Christ.
And, Ann, thank you for sharing your story with us, okay?
Oh, okay. God bless all of you. Yeah, bye-bye.
We just have another minute or two. Jeremy in Walnut Creek, California, welcome to the Terry and Jesse Show.
Hey, guys, I just wanted to comment about, the good you're doing. This whole... You're expressing that marriage is unitive and procreative.
Amen, brother.
That was one of the first things that ultimately, RCIA right now, but that was one of the first things that ultimately brought me to the Catholic Church. Because, Jesus said the two flesh become one, and it's forever. It's not like until one partner gets all upset or something, right? And if it's not exclusively between a man and a woman, it's not geared towards having babies, then why does it have to be a man and a woman? Why can't it be three men or a company? Anybody can apply for marriage.
You bet.
The marriage becomes meaningless.
Yep. Jeremy, you're on it. Are you in RCIA right now, Jeremy?
That's right.
Yes, I am.
Well, God bless you. You get Bishop Sheen's Life is Worth Living for free, brother. 24 hours of programming. Don't forget to call the 877-526-2151 number. Jeremy, I want to give it to you as my way of welcoming you into the church, brother.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for your call. God love you.
Yep.
All right, we've got Eugene in Los Angeles. You're on with Terry and Jesse, Eugene.
God bless you guys.
Thanks.
I just want to say in regards to the celebrities that most of them, the reason why they fail is because they go into it with the unholy Trinity, the wrong Trinity. And then, of course, I even just Catholics that a lot of Catholics I talk to, they have this idea that it's a 50-50 thing, and I have to correct them and say, no, it's 100-100. And so, we just, people are just on the wrong page. Even when I'm at church, I notice that, gosh, I would say more than half the people don't even genuflect. It's like, I know that there are older people and the handicapped people, but not everybody's handicapped. I think we just really need to get back to the fundamentals.
Eugene, you got a PhD in common sense when you call us. And, Jesse's been saying that for years about the fundamentals of boxing. He was a boxing coach. And when he's now a Catholic evangelist, guess what Jesse majors on? The fundamentals.
Got to go back to the basics. Back to the basics. Absolutely.
Thanks for your call.
Eugene, thanks. Yep.
God bless you guys.
God bless you, Eugene. Marriage was created by God, not the government. In fact, when you look at the Holy Bible, the both bookends, the Holy Bible starts with the marriage, Adam and Eve. It ends with marriage, Jesus Christ glorified, marrying the church in heaven. And even both testaments talk about marriage. Yahweh being married to Israel, Old Testament, Jesus being married to the church in the New Testament. Marriage was created by God and not by the government. And what are the 4 F's of marriage? Well, here they are. It has to be freely entered into. Can't force somebody. It has to be faithful. That means you're exclusive. What you share with your spouse, you share with nobody else. It has to be fruitful. No jams, jellies, or plugs. Open to human life. And number 4, it has to be permanent. Till death do us part. Those are the 4 pillars of marriage. If you take any one of those 1 pillars out, you're asking for problems. You're asking for real big problems. Last point I'll make is this. Love is not a decision. It's more than that. Love is an act of the will. Love is an act of the will. It's just not a feeling. It's an act of the will.
Well said. And Jeremy, our caller today, made it clear. That's why he's a Catholic, because of the church teachings for marriage, against the contraceptive mentality. If you want to get that CD on Contraception by Janet Smith, it's a home run CD. I'll give you 2 copies. Call 877-526-2151. That's 877-526-2151. We'll see you again tomorrow. God love you.